Hello, folks. Michael J. here. How you guys doing? How's everybody doing today? Oh my. We got a really good show for you today. Now, who would ever have thunk? Who would ever have thunk? We're back to America and its politics. And who's in the spotlight? The most divisive ex-president ever in the history of the United States of America. Donald J. Trump. He's back in the spotlight. Is anybody surprised? I'm not surprised. You surprised? Nobody's surprised. Now, why would you say that? The most divisive ex-president of the United States? Absolutely. He was divisive when he was president, more divisive when he's ex-president. So how do you say that? Well, people, you got to look back to early 1930s. Guy by the name of Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover. He had the same type of policies that Trump had: anti-immigration, close the borders, put up tariffs, made in America. And guess what? Back then it was such a fail that FDR, otherwise known as Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was a shoe-in as the new president, and a new trajectory for the American people began. So today our focus is on Donald J. Trump, and in particular, a new, there's always something new coming up with this guy. It should not surprise anybody. And so, what is it, you may ask? Well, less than a week ago, I did a video, and the video was on the Republican Party, led by Donald J. Trump, and a slate of false electors for 5 states, which was Nevada, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Arizona. And I did a separate video showing the fake electors going to the state capital of Michigan. Actual video footage, okay, of them trying to misrepresent the actual electors that were already present within the state legislature or state legislation at that time, but they still tried. Even conveyed fake documents to the archives, like it's all on record. Like this is not fake news, buddy or buddies. Donald J. Trump has been acting like an autocrat from day one. And what do? They label the media that does not shed the light on them the way that they wish it to as fake news. Very simple strategy for all autocrats. They do it. And then they try to take them off the air. Simple as that. So you got to ask this question, America. Why do you idolize an ex-president who's doing everything he can to manipulate the vote to become, again, the next president? Why do you idolize Donald J. Trump in the same manner? Let's take the movie The Ten Commandments. Edward G. Robinson. This gold statue. Moses is up, getting the spoken word from God to make out the tablets and the Ten Commandments. And he'll be walking back down the mountain to present that to the people. And what happens? Edward G. Robinson has everybody partying and worshiping this gold statue he made. So now that they've left the Roman Empire, they're free. They have to create this gold statue to idolize, to make themselves feel worthy as people. Like, what is that? You have to seek validation for who you are by looking outside yourself? Come on, folks. If everyone was responsible, we'd have no need for police. We'd have no need for a court system, judges. We'd have no need for government. But that is conditional upon one thing: if everybody was responsible. Have we evolved to that point? Obviously not. But let's go back to what the focus is on this episode. And that is Donald J. Trump now not only directing the Republican Party to place false electors and certificates of validation for 5 states. Now it's gotten bigger. It's 7 states. It is 7 states. Oh my. It just gets more and more convoluted, and people buy into this stuff. They buy into it. So without further ado, let's get on to the video here, folks.
Turns out it was Rudy. Here's the front page at CNN.com right now. Giuliani led fake electors plot. Here's the watch.
Oh my. Giuliani, who was, let's face it, he was, you got to remember, Trump has represented as Giuliani as his personal attorney. Now, prior to Giuliani, who was it? It was a Michael Cohen. What happened to Michael Cohen? He ended up going to jail for Trump. Well, what's going to happen to Giuliani? Probably the same thing. So, folks, have you not noticed a pattern here? And the pattern is this guy Trump, who's now the face of the Republican Party. So he builds these firewalls, and one is the Republican Party. The other one is his personal attorney. He's had 2 impeachments. Congress, which is led by the Republican Party, which is supposed to be the conscience and the ultimate law of the United States of America. And we've seen it can work, and we've seen that with Watergate and with Barry Goldwater in particular, who stood up and said, we will not tolerate this criminal behavior. The American people do not deserve to be treated as such. But between then and now, it seems like the Republican Party has lost its way. Can you say the Republican Party is the party of law and order? Really, based on what we've presented to you so far? Doesn't look like that, folks. You've got the free will to make that decision, but if you really think the Republican Party is the party of law and order, I got to question where you're coming up with that assumption. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the video and let's get further into it, folks.
Washington Post's version of that same front page story today as
Okay. The Washington Post headline, and then you're going to say, oh, the Washington Post, they're biased, they're fake news. Give me a friggin' break. You can say whatever you want to justify a make-believe belief system that you've created to give you a moral authority to act upon it. It doesn't work, folks. Headline is, as Giuliani coordinated a plan for Trump electoral votes in states Biden won, some electors balked. Wow, imagine that. Some electors didn't want to do criminal activities, convey criminal, fraudulent documents.
Giuliani coordinated plan for Trump electoral votes in states Biden won. It was Mr. Giuliani, apparently. You know, you find a little thread of a story, you tug and you tug and you tug some more, and then one day you're like, ugh, one more tug on the same thread, and the whole sweater comes apart. Today was the day the whole sweater came apart, and now we're all sitting here in a pile of yarn going, oh, that's what it's made of.
Oh no, what happened?
Here's how CNN put it in their story on this tonight. Quote, Trump campaign officials led by Rudy Giuliani oversaw efforts in December 2020 to put forward illegitimate electors from states that Trump lost, according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of the scheme. Members of former President Donald Trump's campaign team were far more involved than previously known in the plan, a core tenet of the broader plot to overturn President Biden's victory when Congress counted the electors.
Okay. This is a key moment here, folks. Members of former President Donald Trump's campaign team were far more involved than previously known in this plan. A broader plot to overturn Joe Biden's victory when Congress counted the electoral votes on January 6th. We already seen on January 6th an insurrection, a breach of the Capitol building, overrun by a cast of thousands. And guess what? They were Trump supporters, not Antifa. You've been gaslit by everybody. Fox News has gaslit you. So who owns Fox News? A guy by the name of Rupert Murdoch. The guy's an elitist. The same people you're possibly fighting against is spreading and gaslighting the American public, and you buy into it. Why? I don't know. Hard for me to understand. But Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, is one of the elitists that is pulling the broader strings around the world, and you buy into it. You believe this stuff. So the cast of Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's a favorite target of mine. And why do I say? Because I got a personal thing with Tucker. He used to wear a bow tie. Did he ever tie his own bow ties? I don't know. I can tie my own bow tie. So let's go back to the video.
Votes on January 6th. Giuliani and his allies coordinated the nuts and bolts of the process on a state-by-state level. The Trump campaign lined up supporters to fill elector slots. They secured meeting rooms in state houses for the fake electors to meet on December 14th, 2020. They circulated drafts of fake certificates that were
Folks, you really think this is normal behavior? What happens? You're married and you're living the American dream. You're working at the local factory. You bought your own house. You put money away to save for your retirement. And then your wife creates fake documents, conveys the property to her name, goes to the banks, changes the authority to who can access the money in the banks because there were dual accounts. So she changes all this without you knowing. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and the wife says, "Leave the house, pal. I'm done with you." Meanwhile, 10 minutes prior, she's phoned the police, said, "I've got a domestic situation. My husband is threatening me, and I worry for my life." So she says this to you, and then you hear a knock on the door. You open the door, and the police say, "Are you such and such?" I say, "Come with me." And guess what? There's a peace bond. You can't go within a certain amount of distance to the house or make contact with your wife. And guess what? You no longer have a home. You don't have access to money to defend yourself. See how easy this can happen? You don't get it. This is what's happening to the United States of America, and you're buying into this crap.
Ultimately sent to the National Archives. Behind the scenes, Giuliani and Trump campaign officials actively choreographed the process. The Washington Post, in their piece on this today, also has this important new piece of news. Quote, Vice President Pence's chief of staff, Mark Short, tells the Post that Rudy Giuliani and his...
Okay, read this closely. I did an episode a few days back where Mike Pence, when he's overseeing the certification of the Electoral College vote, he made a speech that was different from any previous vice president. Why? He had to get legal advice because he was worried about fake electors, fake documents, trying to overthrow a due process that is recognized and part of a protocol, procedure of the Constitution of the American Republic.
His associates forwarded to Pence's office letters arguing the Trump electors should be recognized in these states that Biden had in fact won. Mr. Short and Pence's legal team reviewed the unsolicited letters, but were not persuaded there was any legal basis.
So, folks, do you not see something wrong with what's going on here? Like criminal activity. People go to jail for this guy, Donald J. Trump, and you think nothing of it. And you support this guy. You don't even question it. You know, you got the free will to do whatever you want. And I'm going to simplify things for you. Do you want love and peace or division and fear-mongering? It's a simple choice. The most beautiful thing about being a human being is your inalienable right as a human being to free will. So this is the question. Do you want love and peace, or do you want division and fear-mongering? Love, peace, and harmony, division, fear mongering, and conflict. Your choice. Very simple. So now I'm going to go to Anderson Cooper. And you're going to say, oh no, CNN and Anderson Cooper? Anderson Cooper's gay. Who gives two flying pieces of friggin' dung what he is? Understand one thing, and this is where people don't get it. Gay people have been ostracized by the church and everybody else for as long as we can remember, whether it be in our minds or history books. Now, I got to ask you this question. Providing, of course, there's such a thing as karma. Is there such a thing as karma and the dharmic wheel of life and reincarnation? Now, if there is, what makes you think that every time you come back to a new life, you're always a guy? Just because this life you're a guy and you want to come back as a guy. Maybe in the previous life you're a woman. And maybe during that transition, coming back to a new life, it didn't work perfectly. And so you came into this new life and you had an identity crisis. So you ostracize. We're human beings. Love everybody. Cherish everybody. Love and cherish everybody, for they are your brothers and sisters. Judgment doesn't work. Love everybody. And if they've done something bad to you, it may be harder, but still forgive them. Because when you judge others, you cast that net over yourself. So let's go to Anderson Cooper here now. Take it away, Anderson.
We have breaking news on efforts from the former president's allies to undermine the 2020 election results. Now, according to sources with direct knowledge of the scheme, Trump campaign officials, led by Rudy Giuliani, oversaw efforts to put forward illegitimate electors from 7 states that the former president actually lost. Senior Washington correspondent Pamela Brown joins us now with this latest. This story is this whole idea of these voting I mean, it's just nuts.
It's just when you think it couldn't get any crazier, it does.
So Giuliani was
Oh
actually
my.
deeply involved in this.
Yeah, and as one of the sources we spoke to said, it was basically Rudy Giuliani and all these other misfits leading the charge.
You're looking good today, Pamela.
Intricately involved in these efforts in December of 2020 to put forward fake electors
Anderson, not
from
bad
7
for an old
states that
guy
Trump
with
lost.
glasses.
There is no doubt
Oh
that
my.
Trump lost these 7 states. This is according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of this plot that was a major part of this overall plan by Team Trump to overturn the 2020 election results back when Congress counted the electoral votes on January 6th. So the point was to have Vice President Pence accept these fake Trump electors rather than the valid Biden ones, which, as we know, did not happen. One source said there were several calls between Trump campaign officials and state GOP operatives to round up fake electors on a state-by-state level. Rudy Giuliani apparently participated in one of those calls. The Trump campaign organized supporters to fill elector slots. They secured meeting rooms in state houses for these fake electors to meet on December 14th. They sent around drafts of the fake certificates that ended up being sent to the National Archives. So far, this is beyond the public calls from Trump and some of his top advisors pushing for alternate electors in the 7 states of Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, Nevada, and New Mexico. At a recent event held...
Okay, folks. I have to interrupt for a moment. And I'll tell you exactly why I need to interrupt for a moment. I will get directly to the point. Okay. I got to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something personal. I know, you notice my background, all roads lead to Putin. I stand by that statement. I'll tell you why I stand by that statement. I personally know the party that brought Donald J. Trump into the Russian fold. there was Russian collusion. I know it for a fact. I witnessed it. Donald J. Trump was brought into the Russian fold under Putin. Initially, it started about 1992, and at that point, it was done under Boris Yeltsin, because Yeltsin was the contact. And of course, Yeltsin, not the most magnanimous character going. Plus, he had a little problem with the tippling of the vodka. He needed somebody that could pull it off for a long period of time. And the chosen one for that was a guy by the name of Vladimir Putin. And so that began a situation where so much money was laundered out of Russia, whether it be IMF funds meant for the people, whether it be denuclearization, disarmament funds meant for the state, military equipment of all sorts sold on the black market, precious metals sold on the black market, and so much money was laundered around the world that the UK, the Prime Minister of the UK, David Cameron, ended up resigning because so much money for such a long period of time was laundered through all sorts of different locations, trust me, around the world, gave rise to the Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers, and the Pandora Papers. And that's only what you know about things. Where it came from, you don't know, but I'm telling you. And that is only what you know. What you have to ask yourself is, if that's what I know, how much more do I not know? Okay? So you don't get it. So let's move back to the video.
Held by a local GOP organization, one fake elector from Michigan boasted that the Trump campaign directed the whole operation. In this audio, it
Oh
is a
my.
little tough to make out.
Can you imagine that?
We fought for investigations into every.
Okay, so here you have, and I had already shown a video within the last number of days where the Republican Party representatives tried to show up at the state legislation in order to convey fraudulent documents. 16 of them showed up as representatives.
Part of the election be good. He fought for a team of people to come and testify in front of the committee. We fought to seat the electors. The Trump campaign asked us to do that. I'm under a lot of scrutiny for that today.
I mean, again, I just find this incredible. It's like it's like a clown car on fire. Did Vice President Mike Pence know?
Can't say it any better. Like a clown car on fire. That's a very interesting way of portraying it there, Mr. Cooper. But you have to look at the whole situation right from the beginning. You had Mike Pence standing beside the President of the United States at that time, Donald J. Trump, in front of a national television saying, drink bleach. We can use bleach to eradicate the COVID-19 friggin' virus. Now, the other question you have not asked yourself, and is this: where'd the virus come from? Everybody's trying to blame it on China. What happens, and I'm just going to throw this out there, because I like throwing stuff out there, see what sticks. What's going to come up in the near future? Like, you already know Bob Woodward did a recording with Donald J. Trump on January 6th of the year the virus became known to the public. Now, the virus didn't become known to the public till many months later. But on January 6th, Bob Woodward had a conversation with Donald J. Trump, and Trump was telling him about this virus and how bad and nasty it really was. So, here's the question. Was Trump and other elitists the parties that spread this virus around the world and set it up so that the blame would be put on China in order to create a crisis, a false narrative to cover their tracks? And then they come up with the fix. We can save you. We'll come up with a vaccine, which actually has worked quite well, but it was too quick for a vaccine, obviously. But it has worked quite well. It's your best defense against the virus at this point in time. So that's what we're going to put at you. Is it possible that Donald J. Trump and other elitists, which could include Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping? Funny thing about Vladimir Putin, they've got these toxins, almost killed his competition, Navalny. So here's the question, and this is going to probably come out in the near future, but I'm going to ask it before anybody. Is Donald Trump and other elitists behind the COVID-19 virus that has spread around the world? That is for you to find out and me to leave some breadcrumbs for you. Let's go back to the video.
Know about this? Because he used very specific language when he actually did his job.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about the clown car on fire.
Well,
no.
That was a good one, Anderson. 10 points,
here's the
buddy.
deal. I was told by a source close to Pence and his team that they were very concerned about this very scenario playing out. They knew there were a lot of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. They did not necessarily know about the specifics of what was going on, but they knew this could happen. So that is why, if you'll recall, when Mike Pence released that statement before January 6th saying...
Okay, enough of that for now. So what I want to do is I want to point something else out to you people. You really have a tough time figuring stuff out. You really have a tough time figuring stuff out. So let's look at this. I'm going to go back to my screen now. Back to my screen. Okay. So let's look at this. Now, as at 2020, the United States of America, for all intents and purposes, had a population of 329.5 million people. Okay. Now, let's look at the 2016 election where Donald J. Trump won. Hillary Clinton had 48% of the public vote. Donald Trump had 46% of the public vote. But because of the way America tabulates and accounts for the next president of the United States, they use the Electoral College. So even though Hillary Clinton represented the majority of American people, Trump won. So let me ask you a question. Were there any riots, any insurrections in 2016 or 2017 after the electoral certification process? Were there any riots? Did anyone breach the Capitol building during the Electoral College certification process and stop a natural process of government? No. Trump stayed in power for 4 years. Then 2020. 2020 happens. You got a worldwide pandemic. You got more mail-in balloting than you had before. Was there fraud? Some people say there was fraud. As a matter of fact, Trump, months before the election of November 3, was claiming if I lose, there's going to be fraud. He was setting you up. He was creating the crisis before the crisis. He's creating the crisis, making something that wasn't into something that was. And you fall for it. But anyways, the difference is here, one thing. First of all, you had COVID-19, and the public was tired of the way it was handled. And for the first time, record turnout, 66% of the population showed up. Your population as at 2020 was 329.5 million people. But even for the 2020 Biden victory, only 66% of the population showed up to vote. So if only 66% of the population showed up to vote, how was it fraud? You got 329.5 million as at 2020, and only 66% voted. And this time, Biden won a majority of the public vote. Just like Hillary Clinton did in 2016. But the difference was the Electoral College. Now, in 2020, the Electoral College was 306 to 232 in favor of Joe Biden. In 2016, it was 306 to 232 in favor of Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. So, no insurrection, nobody pointing a finger that there was voter fraud in 2016, even though Clinton won the majority of the popular vote. But 2020, yes. And why is that, you say? I say it's because Trump's a grifter, he's a con man, he's an elitist, he's out for himself and nobody else. Is the present government perfect? I'm not saying that. I don't think any government's perfect. But that does not give reason to overthrow a duly elected government. Okay? So you got to ask yourself that. So I'm going to go back to good old Rachel. And then we're going to just tie things off and call it a shoe. As Linkletter would say, we're going to call it a shoe. Okay, let's go back to the main screen now.
To accept Trump electors who had not been certified by their states. So Rudy Giuliani and associates directly conveyed to Vice President Pence and his staff that Pence should count the fake ones, should open the forged fake elector counts and count those instead of the real ones when it came time to tally up the Electoral College results on January 6th. And per today's reporting, Mr. Giuliani also led the effort at a nuts and bolts level to create those fake forged elector slates in the first place, including distributing the drafts of the fake certificates that were ultimately sent in to the Congress and the National Archives. And the January 6th investigation
Okay,
today
folks, I've had
showed
enough.
a whole bunch of its work in a
I've had enough of watching that. Have you had enough? I've had enough. Absolutely had enough. So, I'm going to call it a day. I'd like to thank you for your time. And you have to ask. Ask yourself this question. And remember, the most important thing is free will. Free will is your inalienable right. And don't forget, if you've got a position, a belief system, somebody else has a belief system, understand free will is a two-way street. Respect the differences, embrace the differences, and create dialogue back and forth in order to come up with an agreeable and common resolution. And that can be done for anything. So remember this, you've got two parts of free will, and I'm going to simplify it for you. Love, peace, and harmony, division, fear, and conflict. So love, peace, and harmony, division, fear, and conflict. Where would you like to reside in? How would you like to live your life? That is the question. Love and peace to all human beings on this planet. This is Michael J. Till the next episode, take care, understand your health is priceless and your life is precious. Take care, folks. Till the next time.